You're listening to SM Media, the #1 place for exclusive content.
Hi everyone, welcome to the latest episode of the Scottish Football Show Extra right here on SM Media. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. We've got a Troon special in this episode. We're delighted to be joined by, back on the show, the assistant manager of Troon, Dean Keenan. Dean, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on as always.
Cheers, Scott. It's good to be back on. It's been a wee while and we've missed each other a few times in the way through, but it's good to be on.
Yeah, definitely a pleasure to have you back on. And we're also joined by the captain of Troon, Raymond Montgomerie. Ray, it's a pleasure to welcome you on the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks a lot, Scott. It's been a pleasure to be invited onto your show.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. Dean, before we get into talking about Troon, how excited are you that Gio's the Rangers manager?
Who?
You don't know who's the Rangers manager?
Gerrard, is it no?
No. You're living under a cave.
Is it no? It doesn't make a difference to me, mate. Big Andrew's bringing the title home.
You worried about Van Bronckhorst, no?
Not at all, mate.
Nah,
he's got a good record, to be fair. He's a really good record in with Feyenoord, I think. To be honest, Johnny Bailey put someone up. I think Cy Ferreid maybe questioned his reputation, but Johnny put someone up with Feyenoord, and I'd done a bit of digging, and I had some record over there. So obviously, a wee spell in China, that'll help him out as well. But no, listen, I think Rangers were a bit stale, to be honest, this year, so I don't think it'll be a bad thing for them. But as I said, we've got our own things to worry about now, so I'll leave it at that.
Brilliant. We'll look into, obviously, Troon's season so far. We'll take a wee look at your league positions. You're sitting 10th, 26 points from 8 wins, 2 draws, 10 defeats. Monty, obviously, at the start of the season, it was all about just staying upbeat. They're doing pretty well so far, considering the start he's had.
Yeah, we started to kind of turn things around a bit there. Started off obviously a bit ropey, but we're kind of struggling for a bit of consistency. We've been kind of up and down. 1 week we're brilliant, and the next week we're down, struggling to get a result. So hopefully, we've won the last 2 games now, so hopefully we can stabilise that and go on to get another win on Saturday, and then continue that on towards the Christmas and then into January and February.
Dino, would you go along with that? Sort of been up and down so far?
Aye, definitely, Scott. Struggle for consistency. But as I said when I spoke to you about the pre-season show, this is to be expected. 12 or 13 signings we've made this year, so it was always going to be the case that we were going to be a bit inconsistent to begin with. But now that we've found our feet in terms of the team, we've managed to find a shape that's suiting us at the moment. And performances have been good. We had a really good performance-wise October, which resulted in 0 points in the league from our 3 games, which was usually disappointing. But we just asked the boys to continue what they were doing, and I think we're getting the rewards heading into November now with the 2 results that we've had, 2 great results for us. And yeah, listen, we're mid-table at the moment. That's the first round of games for us complete. And by the looks of things, we've managed to avoid that relegation zone at the moment. So that's certainly a positive. And as Monty said, we'll be looking to kick on in the coming weeks to really cement our place in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into, obviously, go through it kind of a game at a time. The first game was a defeat against the Buffs, Monty, then a 0-0 draw with Benburn at home, and then obviously the defeat against Talbot 2-1. I was at that game and covered. Dean, I'll come to you in a second about that. First 3 games, was it disappointing?
Yes, unfortunately I wasn't available for the first game against Glen and Rangers, so I can't really comment on that game. But the Benburn game, I thought we dominated the game from kind of start to finish, and they're quite a tough side to break down. They play with 2 banks of 4, and they just sit behind and play the long ball. So I thought, unfortunately, I get sent off from that game as well, I think. But the Talbot game, just a typical Talbot team. We went up 1-0 and we're playing really well in the first half, and then the second half they came out and scored straight away after the break, and then their tails are obviously up and they're going to beat us 2-1. But I didn't think there was much really between the 2 sides, if I'm being honest. But to get 1 point out of the possible 9, I thought we're pretty unlucky, to be honest. And that kind of was it's really been our season so far, I think.
Dino, obviously, me and you had a bit of a debate after that Talbot game. Do you remember that? Was that?
We do, mate. I remember it like it was yesterday, man. You said that we scored a fortuitous goal when it was an absolutely brilliant piece of play from us.
It was as well as that, obviously. That was I kind of maybe did jump the gun. It was, you did probably dominate that first half. Was it disappointing you couldn't kick on in that second half?
Aye, but listen, I've been there long enough at Talbot, and they get that first goal and then the crowd gets up, and then all the wee 50-50 decisions or 60-40 decisions that you were getting in your favour first half, you don't get any of them, and it's as if the fans just suck it in. Listen, I have a fair ding-dong with them every time I'm down there, but what they have, obviously the players on the pitch are a huge part of it, but them just decide. The support is just phenomenal that they get down there, and it definitely helps them, and that's why they've managed to maintain their success over the years. But it was a disappointing result in the end, but the performance that day, that was a real positive for us, because like you just mentioned there, that 1 point out of 9, it's not a great start to a league campaign, but when we looked at the fixtures, we were away to Kilwinning, who were tipped to be up near the top, away to Auchinleck, and then Benburb, who, as Monty just said, Lovers has got them well drilled there.
Yeah.
Tough to upper hand, absolutely no doubt, on the 3 games that were played.
Absolutely, yeah, and obviously he's went on for that start to pick up a big 4-2 win against Rob Roy. Monty, how big was that for the dressing room to get the first win?
Oh, it was excellent, obviously, to go and play it. And as Dino said, at Auchinleck, I think we played really well over the 90 minutes, and then to kick on, and I thought that was probably one of our best performances we've played this season, out with maybe Largs or Glenafton this year, and to get the 3 points, especially against a team that was down the bottom of the table with us, considering the start there, I don't think they had actually picked up any points in the first 3 games. So to get that 3 points and put us 4 points ahead of them in the league was a good victory. Yeah,
definitely. Dino, would you echo that thought in the 4-2 win against Rob Roy?
It was important we got that first win. It was important for the team. And listen, Rob Roy, again, they've got some great players. Maxie's done brilliant with that squad, because I remember when they had Big Willie up front with wee Kev, and the two of them were brilliant, and then they had to change their full side, and obviously with the stuff ongoing with their stadium and that, he's done a terrific job there, Maxie. And I really like the middle of midfield, the wee boy number 8. I can't mind his name now, but he's an excellent midfielder, and he actually dominated the game previously. We'd played in the kind of lockdown season, and I think we beat them 1-0, but he dominated the middle of midfield against Monty, so we knew how just good a player he was. But thankfully that day we got the result.
The one kind of thing, obviously, at the start of the season was kind of home form was a bit of a struggle. 2 defeats against Clydebank and Cumbernauld, obviously 2 kind of teams in different positions in the league. Monty, was the Clydebank game probably understandable, but the Cumbernauld was a bit disappointing?
I'm not too sure about that, because Clydebank, even though how well they were doing up until they played us, I don't think there was really much in the game, if I'm being honest. They scored just off the back of a second ball after the back of a set piece. But other than that, I don't think any of the 2 teams really created many chances over the 90 minutes. And I thought maybe a draw would have probably been a much fairer result. However, at Cumbernauld, I think they were more hungry than us. I think they probably deserved to beat us in the day. And as we touched on earlier, it's been the story of our season. We one game we're good and we're at it, and the next game we've been poor. And I believe that against the kind of teams up the top of the league, your Clydebanks, Auchinlecks and Pollocks, and we always seem to do really well. But when it comes to teams that are kind of round about us, we don't seem to perform at as higher level, and that's what happened in the 2 games.
Do you know, obviously, that they 2 home defeats, he's went on to beat Kilburnie 2-1. How big a win was that?
Huge. Late goal as well. Josh came off the bench, scored with 2-3 minutes left, and it was a good bit of momentum shift there for us. But as Monty said, it was just kind of story of the season, early on in the season. But I go back to what I said, 12 players, there's going to be that. Obviously the demands that we were putting on them as well to try and play the way we want to play. There's a lot of adjustments to be made, and I go back to what was said in the pre-season chat. We lost a spine of our team, had to retire. James McGowan went back to senior football. Steve went to senior football. Jordan Morton, senior football. So, like, I promoted players back to senior football, but that was a real tough thing to replace for us. And early on in the season, I thought we were defending really well, and maybe just not getting the breaks going forward. But maybe the season there's going to be kind of shift in that as well. But No, listen, it was a great win at Kilburnley because at that time they were really struggling, and it was a Kerr that was in charge as well. So we knew that they would have got a lift for maybe the manager leaving, as it happens in football. But we were dominant in the game. So to get the last minute winner, that was a huge bit of momentum shift for us.
Brilliant. The win against Kilburnley, did you think that would be a big turning point? And then after that, what happened against Blantyre?
Well, that was a game this Wednesday night, wasn't it? Was a kind of bit of a turning point. I think where Kilburnley were in the league, we had to go there and get maximum points. And to score in the last minute, there's a lot of clubs tend to come and score in the last minute against us. So to score against them when we did was obviously great, and you're hoping that you do kick on in the Wednesday night. But as Dino said, it's difficult. Boys are working, boys are picking up wee niggles. So as we're playing that Saturday, Wednesday, it was very seldom that we had the same team playing from a Saturday to a Wednesday to the following Saturday. But as I said earlier, that as we play against teams such as Blantyre, which are now they're sitting second bottom of the league, we often struggle against these teams where we should, in my opinion, we should be beating them.
After that, obviously, you won 3-1 away to Bonnet, and then a massive 4-0 win at home at Glenafton. I remember getting told about that 4-0 Glenafton win, and the quote was, "Troon were relentless first half team." Would you go along with that?
Aye, we were excellent that day. Excellent. And we played a lot of good halves early on in the season. The problem was we couldn't put together a complete performance for 90 minutes, and that's why we only picked up as many points. That day against Glenafton, we were just tremendous from start to finish. We played Dean Fulton through the middle, and he caused them all sorts of problems. And he caused them great problems at the back, and I think that set the tone for us because we managed to get pressed higher up the pitch, and then put them into managed to make them make a lot of enforced errors, and then capitalised on that obviously. And 4-0 probably flattered them on the day, to be honest. We were completely and utterly dominant that day, and like I said, that was probably the first day that we thought that things were starting to kick in again and starting to maybe go on a run. But there's been a few of the times that we've felt in the dressing room, certainly after games. I've said it a few times after that. Let's make sure this isn't another false dawn, because we've maybe had 3 or 4 of those, like we had said a minute ago about the Kilburnley thing. You're hoping that can then spur you on to 2 or 3 wins, and then we lose the midweek game against Blantyre. But Monty's right to make the key point that we've not been able to choose the same team for a lot this year. I think there's only been 2 occasions from my memory that we've managed to pick the same starting 11 for back-to-back games. So obviously we've got boys missing games for weddings and stag do's and holidays and suspensions, but that's enough about Monty. So we'll speak about the rest of the team as well. But it's a difficult thing playing at this level. But listen, we're in the same boat as every other team. I'm not saying that we're not. We're in the same boat as every other team. So that's not an excuse, but it definitely does hamper momentum.
You've gone a 3-game unbeaten run after that. Obviously the Bonnet and Glens, and then the 0-0 with Bees. But the 5-1 defeat to Benburn, Monty, what went wrong that day?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. Again, they're probably hungry on us. They're a stuffy team. They came out all guns blazing at us. The team changed a bit. I think I came back after a suspension. A couple of other guys got their debut that day as well that we'd signed new deals. So I just think it was a bit of a mismatch. We had to change the back 4 as well. I think it was the first time we had to change the back 4 all season. So all the things can accumulating. And we just won the races that day. Benburn deserved their win and probably could have scored more than 5, to be honest. They were far superior than us.
Would you go along with that? Do you know that 5-1 defeat, was that just a really disappointing time of the season?
Aye, and it was a very diplomatic answer from Monty. We got it wrong in terms of the team. We changed shape to go to a back 3. We had boys missing. And we thought we'd try and change a bit of shape to try and get our most experienced 11 on the pitch, and it backfired. We had to make a sub after 20 minutes. In fairness, even when we made the sub, they were miles better. And that was a real turning point, I think, for us in the dressing room. After the game, there was a lot of home truth spoke. Very open and honest conversations with the players about the standards. I wish I could say that was the last time that conversation was happening this year, but obviously you'll mention Ardee in a few minutes. But listen, it was unacceptable for a Troon team to be going there and be beaten 5-1, and it was more the manner, as Monty said. It wasn't a good day. Still actually infuriating when you think about it. I'd actually forgot about that, Scott, so cheers for bringing it up.
You kick on for that though, 2 massive wins against Hurlford and Cumnock. They must have been big wins for the dressing room, Monty.
It was superb to go after getting beat 5-1. A week's a long time in football, and to get, I thought we were outstanding against Hurlford and Cumnock on the Wednesday. It was the Saturday and the Wednesday, I think. It was really good, and it started to get the buzz back about the place, especially after getting such a bad defeat against Benburb, to go on the following week and beat a Hurlford team who are an excellent team, win Scottish Cups, and not much has really changed about them over the years. So to get the 1-0 win at home, and then to go away to Townhead Park at Cumnock, we're actually 2-0 down in that game as well. To come back the way we did and win 3-2 just showed a bit of character we had about the changing room, and that we weren't there just to give. We weren't just going to give up, and we were there to fight for each other.
Obviously after that, you said they 2 big wins and then kind of 3 defeats in a row in the league. What was it kind of thoughts in the 3 defeats to Meadow, Darvel and Pollock, Dean?
Firstly, just Monty gets sent off at 3-2. We actually won the game 4-3 against Cumnock. Hurlford's been to Darvel in one. They've been to Darvel in one. They've been to Cowan in one, and they've been to Pollock in one, maybe. I think maybe no Pollock. Been somebody else in one. So we knew how good a team Hurlford were, and I think Straney got it right a couple of weeks ago. I said his press article saying that Hurlford's probably team of the year, and I kind of disagree with that, with the turnaround that they've had. So we knew how good a win that was for us. And then the midweek game under the lights, it was everything a midweek game under the lights should be, man. It had everything. Goals, controversy, 2 teams going hammer and tongs, and we managed to come out on top. Thankfully, down to 10 men, scored a late winner for us, and it was great. It was brilliant because the momentum, as you said, is huge in football, and Monty's right. A week's a long time, so we quickly banished the Benburb game because we knew how important those games were, and then obviously that carried us on to the Meda game, the Darvel game, and the Pollock game. That we knew was going to be a tough. When the fixtures were drawn, we looked at those fixtures and we knew it was going to be a tough month. Obviously, Irvine Meadow was a bit of a derby game. We went away there, and I thought we were dominated for a lot of the spells in that game, with the causing too many problems and solution in the middle of midfield and causes a few problems. And a draw would have probably been a fair result at the worst for us. But they scored 2 goals late on for long throws and then a cross ball, and we just didn't defend our box well enough, and that became a kind of systematic thing. Like early on in the season, we defended the box really well, and we were maybe poor up top. But then in October, we just really, really poor at defending crosses, set pieces, throw-ins, and it punished us. Meda scored from a set piece. Darvel's 2 goals were set pieces, and then Pollock scored for cross balls to really punish us. So. It was a tough month, like I said earlier on in the show. Performances in October were really good, but we know in this league, performances don't get you anything. It's points on the board that we need, and thankfully coming into November, we've managed to put 2 on the board.
Yeah, 2 massive wins so far this month. Home to Lags on Saturday, but before that, a 2-1 away win against Rutherglen. Monty, they're 2 massive games. Obviously, teams in the also try to kind of fight relegation. How big a wins were they?
They were massive wins, so they were really, really hard fought wins as well. I thought each and all the players fought for one another. We showed a lot of character. Probably in the first half up at Rutherglen, they played, considering the conditions, I thought they played really nice stuff as well. And I thought 2-1 kind of flattered them a bit. I thought we could have maybe been 4 or 5-0 up at half time. And they scored to make it 2-1. They scored in the last kick of the ball, but I thought we dominated that game. And then obviously to go and get a win there on Saturday was probably the best one I've probably had it through. Even though it was just a mid of the season tie, to go and beat Lars after being 1-0 at half time, to come out and win 3-0. The buzz about the place was fantastic. Probably the best experience I've had in the changing room at Troon. Even though it wasn't winning a cup or winning a league or that, it was it was really good, and hopefully we can carry that on to the game on Saturday when we play them in the cup.
Yeah, definitely. Dean, would you echo the statements? 2 massive wins.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone in this division is a massive win, but when you do them back to back, it's really important. We knew that would take us to the halfway point in our campaign, and obviously with uncertainty with the league and the COVID, that if you only get to the halfway mark, that's it finalised. So we knew that we had to get to the amount of points that we've got to. We had to win those both games, and we did. Rutherglen, we were excellent, and then in Lags we showed different sides of our game. First half it was a bit of a nothing game, to be honest. There wasn't much between the two teams. They scored a goal that their goalie should do better. Maybe somebody should foul them. And then in our first half, Sam Jamieson, who for me is probably the top striker in the league at the minute, hits an unbelievable shot and the goalie tips onto the bar and comes off the line and back out again. So fine margins at half time. We just gave the boys belief to go out there and carry out the performance that we know they were capable of, and as Monty says, to go and win the 3-0 in the second half. And we've managed it, but we've got a wee bit of a siege mentality at the moment, to be honest, Scott, because we're crippled with injuries, and there's a couple of boys went out the door and looking for first team football and other things, so we're down to the bare bones. So I think that's been huge. Players are holding themselves accountable. Staff certainly holding each other accountable as always, and as a team we're holding each other accountable, and I think that's why in the last 2 games we've really turned things around, and it was a really old-fashioned Jimmy Cutwood Troon performance, and ruthless and really gung-ho at times, really going forward and expressing ourselves, and then at the back just defending resolute. So it was brilliant. It was great to see, and as Monty said, that's all good and well. And yeah, of course, after the game, I think the celebrations were a bit... I'm not going to apologise. I'm not going to say over the top, because winning football games is what we're all here for, Scott. And there's a lot of times you get in that dressing room afterwards games and it's no good, you know what I mean? So when things are good, absolutely celebrate them, enjoy them. But I'm sure that Arnie and his players would have heard that, and I'd be surprised if it wasn't mentioned in the team talk for them Saturday. So we're aware of that. We've got to go there. And just this Saturday, go there, put in a performance that we did, match them for effort. They're a good footballing side, try and stop falls in the middle, getting on the ball, try and nullify the threat of Sewell and behind, and try and win the game again.
Yeah, definitely. But we'll touch a bit on your cup runs as well. Probably up and down is the best way to describe these as well. Really good in the south, obviously a big 13-0 win against Mid Annandale in the first round. 3-1 win against Lanark. Obviously he's playing the third round on Saturday. Junior Cup, he's out in penalties to Benburb, and obviously the West of Scotland was a disappointing defeat to Ardea. Dino, obviously up and down is probably the best word to describe the 3 cups, isn't it?
Absolutely, Scott. Aye, absolutely. The Scottish to Benburb, like I said, they've got their card marked this year, no doubt. 1-0 up with a couple of minutes to go, and the boy hits a shot for 25 yards into the roof of the net, and obviously penalties. I think it went something through like 14, 15 penalties, so our goalies and that were hitting them. So listen, that's what happens, and yeah, unfortunately we went out. The 13-0 win was great, obviously, loads of good stuff. Good to get some of the young lads on the pitch making their debuts. We've done all season and scoring goals, which is important. And then the Ardea game is just completely utterly unacceptable, and that's not taking away any credit for Sean, because what a job he's done there with his team, to the point where there's a couple of, I'm sure that there'll be other teams interested in some of the players. I know for a fact that there is. They've got some good players there at Ardea. But from our perspective, I think that was Ardea's first ever win against a Premier League team, I'd read. So it's completely and utterly unacceptable. The players were made aware of it. We're aware of it. And unfortunately for Jimmy and I, we've got to carry that tag as well. You know what I mean? Yes, it was on the players on the match. Me and Jimmy, we're still upset about that. But again, the response from the players in the next 2 games has been superb.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But Monty, would you say the comments, obviously a good run in the south, but disappointing in the other 2 cups?
Oh, it's really disappointing. We want to do well, because we're not really expected to go on and win the league this year. So to get a run in the cups is obviously what we're after. To get put out to Benburb, as Dean said, it was a great strike, a couple of minutes to go, and then to get put out in penalties But the idea, as Dino said, is totally unacceptable. We should be really, I was kind of real looking at that as playing Aldear and then the next tag's against Lugar. No disrespect to Lugar either. We should be going and beating them as well. So it's extremely disappointing. So hopefully we go on and we beat Lars on Saturday and get a run going in the South Challenge Cup, and hopefully get ourselves into a final this year and something to celebrate and something to give the supporters.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll touch a bit on the next steps for the club during the season later on in the show. We'll touch a bit on your careers, Dino. Obviously, we've had you on before, but we've spoke about your playing career. But is there a particular kind of best time in your career that sticks out for your days at Morton and Ayr and Troon and things like
that? In terms of playing, probably the Ayr team that I played in, with Steve-O and Tiff in the midfield, and fronts, Alex, Gomes up front, Marco. That was a special time playing. I think coming through the ranks at Morton when you're a young lad and that's your first experience at kind of football, I don't think you'll ever be able to replicate that. The YT capital at 8:30 in the morning and not getting home till 5:30 at night, and all the stuff that goes with that in the boot room and cleaning boots and doing the chores and stadiums and all the fun, and that was just a special time. And obviously at Troon, really achieving things. I came to Troon when they were in the bottom league, the ADL at the time. And obviously over the course of my tenure there, we've managed to progress into the Premier League, been down again, back into the Premier League, winning cups. So it's been good to be competitive. I really enjoy the coaching side of it now, to be honest, just as much as what I did playing. But in terms of a special time in my career, I would probably have to pick that Ayr team that we played when we won promotion in that under Reedy, because what Reedy's brilliant at doing, and I think you see that at Albion Rovers now, is he's brilliant at getting a good group of players, and he done that at Ayr on many occasions, and we all got on. It was a good team spirit, and it's a fabulous place to play football. It really is. Somerset is, even Monty will tell you, somebody kind of Kilmarnock minded. He was at the game a couple of weeks ago, and it's just a special place to go and watch football.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of the teammates have got in touch with us, but we'll save that for a few minutes later on. Monty, obviously you've had a really good playing career as well, time at Stranraer, Talbot, Cumnock. What sticks out to you for your playing career?
It was probably the year after we get relegated with Cumnock, went down into the Championship. John McEwen was the manager at the time, and he brought in kind of the best players from that league. And we lost the first 3 games of the season, and I wasn't really happy there at the time as we went away. I think Jimmy Cup was actually trying to sign me at the time, pestering me, but I stuck by it. I loved my time at Cumnock, and we were on a run. I think it was about 20 odd games. We went on a run, and we ended up winning the league there at Cumnock, and it was a great changing room, a great bunch of lads that I still keep in touch with to this day. And then the following season, with the kind of same group of guys, we went to the West of Scotland Cup final. Unfortunately, we're 2-1 up with 30 seconds to go, and we get beaten. We drew the game, and then we get beaten penalties. But my time at Cumnock over the 2 seasons was probably the kind of the best time I've had so far. But I'm sure at Troon it can be topped.
Brilliant. Dino, obviously you went into coaching after you went into kind of player coaching first. Was that always the plan? See, when you were playing even at Ayr, was it always a plan that would be the next step, get into coaching?
No, not at all. I never really thought of it, to be honest, mate. It was just obviously when my career was curtailed at Ayr through injury, and then I was kind of finished with football, to be honest. And then thankfully with the support of my family and Sharon and Jimmy Cup, we got in touch, and I went to Troon, and I just loved playing, and I still love playing. I had to retire in the summer. I'm waiting on a lung operation at the moment, which has been delayed for some time now. So that's how I had to stop playing. But I wish I was still playing, Scott, to be honest. As much as I enjoy the coaching and everything that goes with that, I don't think you can ever replicate that feeling of playing, that feeling that Monty had in the dressing room on Saturday after going out there and earning those 3 points for your team, for your teammates. I don't think that'll ever be able to be replicated. But I just need to focus on the coaching aspect of things now. I want to do better at that. And I do it in kitchen. I put as much time as I'm allowed to at home to put into these things, and I just want to have a better career in management and coaching than what I did playing. And that's just my sole ambition at the moment. But I've just got to be grateful for the position that I'm in at Troon. And Jimmy's been phenomenal with me since day one, and it's great to still be there by his side at the moment, learning every week. So that's been sort of the course of the last 6 to 8 months. But no, it was never really in my mind to go into coaching, certainly in my early days. Maybe in the past 18 months to 2 years in my playing career, possibly, but I never managed to be thrust into it just as much as I have.
Brilliant. Monty, obviously you've been at Troon for a while, obviously you're the captain now. How much are you enjoying your time at Troon?
Loving it. I had a bit of a kind of bumpy start. My first season I broke my collarbone when kind of at the turn of the year, and then obviously last year it was kind of handled with COVID. But this year I'm thoroughly enjoying it. The management team's brilliant. We've got a great bunch of lads. It's really good. Aye.
Brilliant. If you've seen the show, you obviously know that we put you in the spot. We asked the manager or the assistant manager the quickfire questions round, and then we put the player on the spot with the teammate question round. So, Dino, we'll come to you first. Are you ready to be put in the spot?
Yes, go for it, mate.
Van Bronckhorst or Postecoglou?
Postecoglou.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Favourite other sport?
American football.
Favourite film?
Stand By Me.
Favourite quarterback?
Aaron Rodgers.
Best character you've met in football?
That's a good question, that.
Raymond Montgomerie.
We'll come back to that one.
Win the league or win the Scottish Cup?
Win the Scottish Cup.
Best player played with?
Alan Troughton.
Worst?
Raymond Montgomerie.
Best player coached?
Raymond Montgomerie.
You can sign 3 players for other teams in the league. Who would you pick?
Oofed.
There's a regular in this show dying to be one of them, by the way.
I wouldn't go for Shankers. No. I would go for... Oh, that's a great question. I'd go for Sidey at Pollock.
Right.
I'd go for... That's a great question, by the way. I'd go for Stuart McCann at Pollock. And I would go for Jamie Wilson for Cumnock.
Mark Roberts or Mark Shankland, who's a better character?
Mark Roberts.
Favourite manager in the league?
Jimmy Cockwood.
Best memory in football?
Scoring my header against Kilmarnock.
No, that's the next question. Best goal scored?
It wasn't maybe my best goal. I scored a cracker against East 5. My best goal scored was probably for Troon. I had a free kick against Largs. I'll put it on my Twitter tomorrow. Just so it was a cracker, to be fair.
Best player played against?
Juninho. Played against Juninho when he was at Celtic in a bounce game at Barrowfield. Him, Paul Lambert, Ross Wallace, McManus and that were playing. So Juninho, the World Cup winner for Brazil.
Very good. Last question. Best dressing room story?
There's been loads.
Keep it clean, remember.
I'm trying to do this without stitching someone. Best dressing room story. There's a boy, Ryan McWilliams. He was a goalie at the time. And he was a bit believable about things. So we'd tell him that big Stuart Grecian, who was the most placid guy in the world, chopping folk with knives. And we'd say to Kid Gloves, Ryan, that he had to go into the tour and try and get him out. And I think he drove into the tour to try and pick him up in that and get him away for trouble. It's hard to portray the funny side of that, isn't it, without actually living in it. But there's been loads over the years and loads of good memories.
Yeah, definitely. Monty, you're now in the spot. Are you ready to put some of your teammates under strain?
Yeah.
Right. Best dancer?
Dean Fulton.
Future manager?
Dean Keenan.
Best trainer?
Colin Granger.
Worst trainer?
Dean Fulton.
Hard man?
Dan Miller.
Most skillful?
Most skillful. Josh Black.
Quickest.
Myself.
Slowest.
Myself.
Best character.
Dean Fulton.
Worst dress sense.
Chappie.
Final question. Teacher's pet.
Teacher's pet. I don't know.
Darren Miller. Dino, would disagree with any of them?
We Ben's skillful, but so's Josh. That was pretty fair. Teacher's pet's probably Jack Sherry as well.
Aye.
Brilliant. Right,
But
as you know,
going on with it too.
right, as you know, if you've seen the show, you'll know that we get some sources. We're a channel focused on news, and we get some sources to kind of stick you in and get some stories, and we've got a few here. Dino, you'll know some of these that have come in. You've got a few good friends that have been on the show that have probably told these stories on the show, but we're going to tell them again. Ask Dino about when he done his ECL at Belmont and he was lying in agony and Big Reed had just put a pile of jackets over him.
Aye, that was it, man. Career finished. Went over on my knee and I was in agony. And training just continued, and I got a couple of jackets flung on me until the ambulance came at the side of the pitch. But aye, that was a horrific night. And there's a funny story to go with that as well. I don't know if it wasn't a sponsorship, but I'd get these Kappa boots given to me to wear. And that's the first I'd wore them that night. So when I'm lying there in the ground, my knees in agony, I'm shouting up saying it's the Kappas. But aye, that was it, man. Pile of jackets put on me until the ambulance came.
Brilliant. Ask him about the phone bust in the jacuzzi after he gets sent off in one game. Big Reed came in mental and couldn't find where he was.
Can't mind that. Who said that?
Can't reveal our sources, but you'll probably know after this next question.
Yeah.
I spent about 18 months of my life with him in a call centre day in, day out. What's the best story for there? I take it you know who it is now.
It was one, I think so. One day at Halloween, though, you were coming in dressed up, and he came in as Freddie Mercury with this vest on and the tash and that, and when we were sitting there, I'm saying, this is the way he usually dresses and that. This is it. Folk at that point were just kind of buying that. They thought that was the way that he usually dresses. But it did suit him, to be fair, and I've seen him dressed a lot worse than what he was. He did it. He could pull it off, by the way. He could pull anything off him.
Aye, definitely. He sent another one in as well. Ask about the time we went pre-season tour in Austria. We were all sitting in a pub, and 1 minute Dino had a full head of hair. 5 minutes later, he had a skinhead. Aye,
that was brilliant, Austria, man. What a night that was. We went there for pre-season. There's actually a funny my toenail would come off. We'd go there, and it was excruciating. I mean, it was real agony. So I was like to the gaffer every day, I was like, I'm not going to be able to train, man. And my foot's a bit sore, so he's like, right, go on a bike with Kev. And Kev gave me a doing on this bike, going up and down the mountains. But then I came back, and the boys were doing triple sessions, so I just got a wee bit of lunch, and we were staying in this place in Obertron. And it was just a bike to everywhere you got. So I'd took a bike to lunch, had my lunch, Aberdeen boys were at the time in the Preston friend there. So to the digs, I go back and the Preston boys are playing tennis. Alan Davidson, Mikey Ross, maybe it was at Aberdeen, and Sean St Ledger. The three of them were playing. So I was like, trying to get the big into the Preston boys. Like, I'll give you a game if you want. So I joined in playing tennis with them and that. Obviously couldn't train because of my toenail, but I was playing tennis with the Preston boys. And Reedy, the guy fucking back man, went absolutely through me and seen me. But aye, that was a class trip. And then we went out in Salzburg on the way Saturday night, whatever it was. We played a friendly and went out in Salzburg, and I had a full head of hair, and then there was this barber's in the actual nightclub, so I just walked there and just get my head shaved and then came back. But that was a great trip, man. Probably the best. In fact, that trip was just one of the best memories in football as well. It was an amazing week. We went to, as I said, in Austria. It was brilliant. And then with a week in Belfast a couple of years later, it wasn't bad either.
Brilliant. Another question here. Ask him about what he threw into Cowshed after we won the league at Morton.
There was nothing flung in the Cowshed at all. it's still sitting somewhere, which will be returned to me one day, I'm sure.
Brilliant. Ask Monty why he wears Lonsdale pants when playing football.
I think my mum bought me them for my 16th, and I always wear them for memories.
Have you found any dirt in the boys after taking something to do with the development team?
Sorry?
Have you found you're bound to have a bit of dirt on those boys in the development team after you've been getting involved with helping out?
No, I'm not going to do anything on that.
No getting out of Ellie.
No.
Dino, you're famous for your dressing room initiations. Where do you start?
What, in terms of...
What's the best dressing room initiation, I think is the question, aye.
At Troon, when me and Martin Ure were playing together, upon the first training session, after training, it's called a game of Willies, where the folk in the shower. I'm sure you can imagine what was going on. That was quite funny. He was an absolute crackpot. Great guy.
Monty, we need to start talking about your lack of discipline, getting sent off for needless fouls. He's missed more Saturdays than avid hot dinners. That's for a teammate of yours.
I was telling I would lie this season, so no, unfortunately, I've missed more games than I've played, I think.
Ask him why he thought it was a good idea to cut a pair of goalie gloves.
Well, I think the goalie we've got in the Fisher, who's in goals, and I don't think he needed to cut them. I think he was wearing them on Saturday.
Fine, this is another one for Monty. What is the story about Dean Fulton and a trampoline?
That's not for the show. That's not for the show. I know where that came from.
Brilliant. Dino, what is your favourite Mark Roberts story?
I've had tonners. We used to play FIFA at Marco's, so Thursday we would train, and then we'd just go to Marco's, and there was about 4 or 5 years, and we'd just sit and play FIFA tournaments, eating pizza, man, and then his missus would come and gaff them up. Marco was brilliant, and what a player as well.
I don't know.
Unbelievable player. And he trained with us at pre-season and for a couple of games, and it's unbelievable how fit he is still, what a shape he is. And Marco's a great guy, man, brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. That's a final one, but I think I know but this might not be able to go out. Ask Monty about biofreeze before a game.
Biofreeze, that was the one where we went for a shower and somebody put the biofreeze in that. Do you see that mint shower gel we wear? Mint kind of shower gel. And I went and used it after the game one day thinking it was the mint shower gel.
Brilliant, but obviously there's some great stories there. We'll touch a bit on what's coming up for you. Obviously it's a busy run up until Christmas, but it starts with the game against Lags away in the third round of the South. Monty, how big a game's that to get a good run in the cup going?
Oh, it's huge. Obviously, after beating them last week, I've got to try and build on that. And they'll obviously be up for it, and they'll have them kind of well drilled. And obviously, after our celebrations last week, they obviously want to put one over us at their own patch. So it's massive to go there and get the victory, and obviously try and give us a chance of growing and progressing in the cup with the expectations, hopefully, of getting to a final this season.
Yeah, definitely. Dino, would you go along with that massive game to get a good run in the cup going on Saturday?
Every game's a massive game, aye. Every game's a massive game. And it's only massive because it's the next one. When we won at Rutherglen, the chairman was saying to Jimmy how he believed the last game to be bigger than the game previously. And we just said that to the chairman, that it's only bigger because we won at the weekend. Very, very, very cliche, but it's so true at this level at the moment. It's a cutthroat league, cup competitions. It's the final competition that we're in. Obviously, you've got the Scottish Cup, but for me, this is an elite competition at this level. Lowland League teams are in it. It's regionalised, obviously, and for me, this is a cup competition that if we were to pick one to go long in, then this is the one that we would pick. But we'll see how we are Saturday. Obviously, maybe change the squad a wee bit, get some of the younger lads in that deserve to be playing, and we'll see how we go for them.
Absolutely, but obviously in the league before Christmas, there's 3 massive home games against the Buffs, Rossvale and Rutherglen. Monty, if you're going to stay up, these are games that you need to obviously win. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, they've got to go and win the games. They're also going to be tough games. Quinn and Rangers, they're up. They had an excellent start to the season. They're up at the top end of the league. Their form hasn't been that good recently. I think they're struggling for players with injuries and things like that. So a home tie at Portland Park, you've got to be going there and hopefully getting 3 points. And Rutherglen as well, they obviously want to try and put one over in us after us beating them at their place a couple of weeks back. So again, it's a massive game, but it's a game that we should be looking to go and get 3 points from, and keep the momentum going. Because if the momentum will keep winning every week, it becomes easier to go in the following week and get that winning mentality amongst the group of players.
Dino, you're sitting obviously above relegation. How important is it with these games to win them and obviously get as far away from that position as possible?
It's huge. Scott, like what season, our aim is going to be to stay in this division. And I listened to all the other managers speaking pre-season about their aims, and there was one in particular that spoke about how he hoped that nobody would come on and say staying in the division was going to be the be-all and end-all for them, and that they were going to be tied. So we must be having an unbelievable season, or they're having a really poor one if we're only 3 points behind them. So listen, we know what we're wanting to do. We want to stay in this league. We'll do everything that we can. And you just look at some of the teams down there in the league at the moment, you know what I mean? We've got a few games coming up that are of significant importance. We're aware of that, and we want to finish mid-season break.
Definitely, and I was obviously going to say there, obviously with the likes of Stevie Wilson on as well, Ryan Stevenson's back. How big are they players, obviously, do you know, with their experience to come in and play with guys like Ray, and obviously a big kind of mix of experience and youth in that team, obviously, going forward?
There is, it's important. Stevie Wilson's been good since he came back. Had to get him up to speed initially, and now he's up to speed. He's been good. He just keeps missing penalties, but we can deal with that. No, he's been good, and obviously Steve-O, for the period that he's been back in the team, he's added goals, he's added experience, he's added his quality, as we had expected us to do. But the younger lads that we've got in that front area, like I said earlier, Sam Jamieson's, for me, is one of the best strikers in the league, if not a league above as well. And Josh Black, Ben Black, Dean Fulton, we've got unbelievable players in the front end of the pitch. And defensively, Tommy and Darren have been magnificent for us. Ewan McCleavy's improving every week. Jack Sherry's came back, Sam McCloskey, do you know what I mean? So we've got real good experience. When we let the captain leading them through. So hopefully in the coming weeks we can continue this good run that we're on. But as I said, it'll be a very much game for the game making.
Yeah, definitely. Monty, would you go along with that? How good's the mix in the dressing room, kind of experience and youth? Is that a good balance?
Yeah, it's a good bunch of boys in the changing room all together. So it is, in terms of that mix of youth and experience, it's working well at the moment. So as Dino said, some of the players I've got going forward, Ben, Dino, Josh, Sam, they're excellent young players, and they've got an opportunity they've got to go on and play at a higher level. So they do, but and the experience as well, as Dino said as well, that Tommy's been brilliant. He's a great guy to play in front of. He talks constantly through the game. Talk constantly through the game, and I think the game that he missed against Aberdeen was probably why we lost that game. His experience at centre back, talking to young boys through the game, and we missed that.
Yeah, definitely. But we can only wish you all the best for the season ahead. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you both on the show. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks very much for having us.
Brilliant. Thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in. Please follow our social media pages and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels. Thanks very much to everyone. We'll see you soon. Cheers.
Cheers.